Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, as usual, before I begin with this lesson, I want to start it off by giving all the glory and infinite praise to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shah, by Hashem Akah HaKadosh, the abundance of the elders and the apostles, Ray Millstone, who have taught and learned this truth 100% from. Peace and blessing, be to you, who will serve Yahweh Shema Shah in sincerity, hoping for mercy, as well as salvation in these latter days. To you I say Shalom, and Yahweh Shema Shah Barakum. So I was having a conversation with the brother that I camp with, the beloved brother you call, and through the spirit we was just talking about the possibility of brothers being by themselves when, you know, shit does crack off, you know, and we don't know when shit is gonna crack off, but, you know, through measuring of the times, you know, we see that, you know, it ain't too far off. You know, we one event away from, you know, the Lord really shutting this shit down, right? And chaos really just erupting on them. But, you know, brothers could be at work, you know, as well as sisters too. You know, y'all not exempt, right? But, you know, we could be at work, you know. Another thing too, you know, don't be, you know, this ain't the time to be trying to travel and take trips and shit, you know, to do folly, you know, or to go on vacations and things of that nature. It ain't off to do it. But the scriptures say that the prudent and wise man foreseeth evil. You know, with all this shit that's going on, you know, you basically asking to be put in a situation you really don't even want to get yourself in, you know, because you ain't using wisdom. This ain't the time to be trying to, you know, go to large events and shit, especially with the shit that's going on with, you know, the United States and Iran, right? And on top of that, you got, you know, the beast hating the horrible, right? Everybody turning their back on Babylon. This shit is, hey, it's I would say something is gonna happen in the soils of America, right? And the last thing that you will want, right, is to be at a damn concert where it's thousands of people, and, you know, they blow some shit up or something, or they turn them frequencies up, and people who went and trusted in the science, you know, at the beginning of 2020, they start bugging out in there. You know, and you in the mix of that shit. You know what I mean? But something that you gotta, you know, really meditate on is the possibility of being by yourself in Jacob's trouble. And, you know, we can sit here and say, you know what I'm saying, because I myself have done it. You know, but when you really think on it and think about how spooky shit'll be, you know, because imagine shit being pitch black. You know, they pull the plug on the grid, shit being pitch black. You know, anything was spooky, bro. You know, you hearing leaves, you know, cracking and shit like that, and you hearing shit in the distance, and that shit, you know, making you turn, you know, you looking over your shoulder everywhere you go. You know what I mean? This gonna be a reality. The thing is that the Lord is gonna, you know, put the spirit in us to, you know, be able to deal and stomach the things that we gonna experience and the shit that we gonna see. You know, because everybody can say that, you know, if seeing a dead body in a funeral in a casket and seeing a dead body in the streets where it's a messy scene and shit, them is two different things, man. Imagine, you know, it's pitch black and you walk into a room and you bump into some shit, and, you know, somehow, some way, you know, you probably strike a match and you look and there's dead bodies hanging from the ceiling. That shit was spooky. You You know what I mean? You see, even seeing another human and it's pitch black, that shit was spooky. You know, you got to kind of just imagine these type of scenarios to kind of, you know, have an understanding of the possibility of the feeling and the things that we gonna be, you know, the shit that's gonna be flowing through. It's like, how can I put it? You know, basically it's gonna be a different type of feeling than how we feel now, because right now, you know, as I'm recording this video shit, I'm finna be able to go home, eat, you know, and be good, chill, take a shower, just came from the gym, you know, but soon that comfortability is gonna be stripped. You know, brothers is gonna be on the move, man. You know, the city that you in currently right now, you know, you could be in Chicago and the Lord end up taking you way up, you know, way up in Canada or some shit. You know, brothers don't know where they gonna end up at, you know, when, you know, shit does hit the fan, because the scriptures say we're gonna be like pilgrims, you know, and when you're a pilgrim, the chances are that you could be on a journey by yourself, man. You know, so we all gotta put ourselves in a, you know, in a spirit of, you know, knowing that the Lord can have us where we by ourselves and shit. You know, and put your trust in Him. You know, that's what you just gonna have to do. Alright, that's the only, I mean, with or without brothers, alright, you gonna have to put your trust in your help by some outside. Alright, you're gonna have to use them names to your advantage. You know, because the scripture say in Proverbs 18:10 that the name of the Lord is a strong tower unto those that fear Him, and the righteous runneth into it and is safe. I know for sure that when shit do start getting bad, I mean, I ain't, you know, all that trying to be tough guy shit, you know, wait until these things really kick off. It's gonna be a different story, man. Alright. But I know one thing, that I'm gonna pray to Yahweh some outside. You know what I'm saying? Like crazy. Really, we need to do it now. Alright, it should start now. Because the scriptures say to pray without ceasing. You know, and truly, if you begging something, and I gotta check myself on this too. But truly, you're not begging for something if you just pray one time a day. You know, if you really think about it. You know, and in order to be really considered something to be considered begging, you gotta be really, you know, like you bugging your parents for like a new game or something. It's a new game finna come out, and you know, you want it bad. You know, you ain't gonna just ask them one time. You gonna keep asking them until they get on, you know, until you get on their damn nerves. They be like, damn, all right, I'm finna go get it for you. You know, we gonna go get it. You know, I'll get it for your birthday or something. You know what I'm saying? That's how you gotta be with the Lord, man. You know what I mean? Because goddamn, this shit gonna be bad. This shit gonna be bad, and reality gonna set in on a whole nother level. Alright, so you should be begging, speaking to myself first and foremost, you know, begging your help by some outside that He, you know, Salat Kasad, you know, send mercy your way, man. You know, because it's gonna be no food. It's gonna be chaos. It's gonna be people out here with guns and shit. You know, for brothers who ever been in situations where, you know, you got people that start, you know, you know, I guess pointing guns in, you know, directions that you may be in. That shit, you know, that shit not like no nonchalant ass feeling, bro. That shit'll make your heart drop. You know what I mean? You damn near do anything for them niggas to put that damn gun down. You know what I mean? Imagine, you know, those people, because the scriptures say in the book of 2 Ezra 16 that it's gonna be people, or not 16, but the 15th chapter, that it's gonna be people with swords in their hands, man. Bro, we gonna need the Lord, man. Alright? And keep it in mind that you might be by yourself. Alright? Another another precept that came into mind was the scripture Luke, I think Luke, the 21st chapter, when it goes into how when you upon your housetops, and you see the enemy, damn, I'm finna bush it. Basically, just to loosely paraphrase it, I use this as an example from blue moon to blue moon, but you may be on a walk, so the spirit may be on you just to go on a walk, just to meditate or something, and you start going to the house, and the next thing you know, you see troops at your damn door, getting ready to boot your damn house in. Do you think you're gonna be able to go back to your home? Hell no. You're not gonna be able to go back to your home. You're gonna have to leave everything behind, because then that'll be tempting the Most High, because the Most High is showing you right then and there from a distance not to take your ass over there. Then you're gonna have to forsake. You're gonna have to leave everything behind, man. You know what I'm saying? Keep these type of things in mind. All right. So with that being said, I don't know what to say. I did make some points for you brothers and sisters to take into these times, man. And also that my sacrifice was acceptable in the eyes of Yahweh Shema Shah. So with that being said, Shalom and Yahweh Shema Shah Barakathon.